And in 10 and a half months, she lost 135 pounds. And if you walked by her on the street, you would recognize her.
Oh, hello, it's Steve MacLellan, the financial engineer here, and we are here to help you to design an even better future, to help you grow, protect, and keep what you built instead of giving it away to the government, losses, and the unknown. And we have a very, very special guest here today. I love what Devin's been doing. We've been recently shooting a commercial. We went to his gym, and it's a real gym. It's a gym, right? And he's been running 360 Fit for a while. Through his hard work and his grit, he has become the business owner of the month. And we're just going to interview him, see what the secret to his success is and how he's able to keep on going, especially through these tough times of COVID and this pandemic where almost everything has been shut down. Devin, my man, how are you doing?
I'm good, Steve. Thank you very much for having me on. This is exciting. I'm pumped.
It's exciting to have you. Tell me something awesome that's going on in your world.
Well, we're open. That's awesome for us. My dad sent me something about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it was an article from the Globe and Mail. It said 42% of all independently owned gyms in Canada during COVID closed. And I'm like, I'm killing it then. I'm still open. So
Still open.
Yeah, listen, as long as I'm open, I'm happy. I can make things work as long as I'm open.
How were you able to do it with all these shutdowns and regulations and everything? How were you able to stay open?
Listen, it was a bit of a balancing act, especially at the beginning, because at the beginning, no one had any idea what was going on. I mean, it was one of those moments where you're like, how do I pay rent? And I reached out to my landlord. They were not super open, obviously, because they had people everywhere saying, hey, I can't pay rent. So it was a bit of a crazy time. I actually froze my bank accounts for the landlord because they wanted to continue taking rent. At the time, there wasn't any rent incentive. So it was a little wild. It was a little bit like the Wild West. The biggest thing for me has been being able to be honest with our clients, try to offer them some online stuff. And you know what, in the end of the day, being willing to freeze their memberships when we weren't open. We were able to do some, obviously, classes outside and PT, personal training stuff outside when it was warmer. It was a lot of, it was the first time I think that you're living by the seat of your pants completely. Because every single day I was like, okay, what are we going to do now? All right, we'll try that. See how that goes. Fortunately, I think I just made some good guesses throughout that. And I say this to people all the time. I got divorced about 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago. You get a lot more careful with your money when you get divorced because you realize, boy, that's not very good. So I've been more careful. And I think because of that, I had the ability to not be in a position where I'm like, okay, the business is going, almost month to month, paycheck to paycheck type of thing. So because of that, I was able to weather the storm a little better. So some of it was luck, let's be honest.
Yeah. Some luck, but some experience there. And I hear you. I know I'm the same way when it comes to money. I made some mistakes in my past. Being an employee, I relied on financial advice from buddies or bar stools and HR department. That cost me dearly. And you're saying you've gone through a divorce, and that is unfortunately a school of hard knocks, a big lesson learned there. It can be very expensive. But let's go back. Let's go even back, because listen, and I want to get back to this pandemic, because this pandemic, of course, we're taking precautions to be safe and healthy, but it's been really tough on business owners, especially customer service and where people actually have to go to and get fit. But take me back before we get there. What got you? Give me your backstory. Where you grew up and what got you started in the not financial industry, but the fitness industry in the first place?
All right. So, I mean, we met in university. We both went to St. FX. And actually, my background, I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. My parents moved to Cape Breton and to like backwoods Cape Breton when I was a kid. Like my dad owns, my mom's passed away now, but my dad owns 450 acres. So I grew up, we went from Evanston, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago, to 450 acres growing up on a farm. I learned a lot of hard work there. I say all the time to my kids, you know what, you guys have it pretty good. You don't have to get up at 6 a.m. and feed animals. I went to, obviously went through school, played a lot of sports, really liked sports, started to work out because of sports, to be honest, more than anything else. And I hit university, and I think it was my second year in university, second year of St. FX. I thought, you know what, it would be a good job if I could become a trainer, because then I loved being in the gym. It was fun. I thought, you know what, this is something I really enjoy. It'd be a good job for while I'm in university. So I became a trainer then. I was 20 years old, and I thought this will be good until, I'm done university. And I am 28 years later. I'm still doing it. I think I just never really got over the enjoyment of being in the gym. I still get excited coming to the gym every day. It's this is sort of like my happy place. I enjoy being here. So basically, back in those days in university, you could make a little bit of money as a trainer, but people didn't have trainers. And I say to people, especially my younger staff, I'm like, you guys don't understand. There was a time that, and not too far ago, because I'm not that old, that people didn't go to the gym that much. It wasn't a thing. And it's interesting to have watched that progress. I mean, I went through my 20s and I still was sort of a part-time trainer. And at about 26, 27, I realized, hey, wait a second, I can make more money at this if I just continue doing it and do it full time. And I've done it full time probably since I was 26, I guess now. And I've just grown through it. I mean, I worked for some independently owned gyms. I worked for big box gyms. I worked for New Bodies for a while. And I'm not a good employee. That's the best way to put it. I like to do my own thing. I like to make my own decisions. And quite often I'm like, you know what, that's a stupid way to do it. I want to do it this way. And I used to say to my manager at New Bodies that I was like, if you just leave me alone and let me do work, I'll make you money. Just don't bug me and I'll go make you money. And that didn't really work with their corporate model, which I understand it, but I'm not good at that. And over time, I decided, you know what, I want to go out and do this on my own. I went out and I decided I would do it on my own. I did it out of my house for a while, believe it or not, rented space and did boot camps on my own for a bit. And then from there, I met a client she's very, very bright. And she said, you need a space. You need your own space. And I said, you know what, I think you're right. And I opened the gym, and we've been going now 11 years since then.
Yeah. And you can tell those decisions you've made have paid off. Just being at your gym there, beautiful gym. And you can tell it's a gym where people actually go there to work out. It's not, well, obviously they can socialize at the same time, but it's definitely there to get the workouts and get physically fit. And it's so funny. Shout out to St. FX, but I remember going to that dungeon of the gym that they used to have.
Yes.
And you're right, it was mainly athletes down there. And this evolution of actually realizing that you can feel good. And whenever I'm physically fit, I find that my business does even better. I guess, what's been the secret to your success?
I think that the biggest thing is grit. I don't always see the big picture well. I say to people quite often, I'm not the smartest guy in the world necessarily, but if I get a plan and I decide on a plan, there's nobody I feel like they can outwork me when I do that. And that's sort of been my attitude on owning a business, is just to outwork everybody else. I grew up in a obviously we were in a farm when I was a kid. My dad owned a business. My brother now owns it. My sister owns a daycare. So I come from entrepreneurs, and I know how hard it is. I know it's a lot of work. It's funny, when I was younger, I used to say all the time, I don't want to own a business because that's a lot of work. I don't want to do that. And lo and behold, here I am. I think honestly, the secret of the success for any business owner, if you're willing to bust your ass, you'll make it and you'll do well. And you're willing to create relationships with people. That is the two biggest things. I like to create relationships. I love being around people. I'm a huge extrovert. So the ability to create relationships with people all day, I love that. And the ability just to work hard. And for me, it doesn't feel like work. 10, 12 hours in the gym doesn't feel like work to me. It feels like a lot of fun.
I know exactly what you're saying. I became probably one of the world's worst employees based on exactly what you said. But it's amazing when you do what you love, you can put the time in there. So you're saying grit and creating relationships, very important to your success. And what's important to your client success? What do you see their kind of if you're to pick out one or two things, what helps them get to that next level in physical health that you see?
I have always found what people really need is support and information. Those are the two things they need, just support and information. A lot of, and I've seen over the years, I worked with a lot of trainers before I owned my own space. And a lot of trainers, it was almost like they wanted to piecemeal the information out to clients. They didn't want to give them too much. And I believe the exact opposite. I will give you every piece of information. I put it on YouTube all the time. I'll give you everything you possibly need, because I feel like, you know what, my goal is to help people and support people. The support is the big thing, because a lot of people out there, even their spouses sometimes, are not super supportive of what they're doing until they get going on it a little bit. So the biggest thing people need is support, and they just need the information. And there's a ton, and not to quote Donald Trump, of fake news out there when it comes to health and fitness. There's a million different diets, and every diet is based on, you know, eating fewer calories than you burn off, every single one of them. But they're like, do this and jump on your 1 foot 3 times in the morning, and you're going to do there's just so much fake information. And that's what I try to do, is just give them honest, real information. And I tell them, I'm like, look, I have had clients that have done this didn't work, don't do that. I have, you know, I've done this, it didn't work, don't do that. As long as you can give people real information and honest information, and then support them through the process, people will be successful in pretty much everything in life, but specifically fitness for me.
Oh man, well said. It sounds like there's a lot of relationship between the physical industry, the fitness industry, and the financial industry, because there's so much noise in both and so much garbage in both. And obviously you've been able to, you know, get through the noise, push through the shiitake, I guess, and see what works and what doesn't, right?
Yeah, it's the biggest thing is really just, I find my feeling is always be honest with people. If you're just honest with people and you tell them what they need. And I say all the time, I had a client one time that came in, and she was going through a separation, and she wanted to buy a whole ton of personal training. And when I sat down with her, I could tell her heart wasn't in it. She just was stressed out, and she felt like this is what she should be doing. And I said, look, I can be honest with you. I can take your money if you want me to, but I don't really think that's where you need to go. I think we need to worry about getting the divorce portion of it done, figuring out where you are, what you want to do, and then come back, because she couldn't really give me a why of why she wanted to get fit. And I was concerned that she was just doing it because she felt like she should. And she was super pissed off. Like, oh my goodness, she left and she was mad as a hatter. Like, you wouldn't even believe how mad she was at me. And about 6 months later, she came back in and said to me, you know what? You could have taken advantage of me and taken a ton of money, and you didn't. You were totally honest with me. And I really respect that. Now I was so mad at you, and now I realize you didn't, you were doing what was best for me. And that's what I try to tell the trainers that work with me every day, and my clients. I'm like, I'm going to give you a little bit of what you want and a whole lot of what you need. And sometimes you won't like what you need, but it will do what you want down the road long term. And I think that's the most important part. Is it may not be exactly what a client is looking for right now, because they think they have something in their head that they want. But in reality, if I know what the why is and where they need to go, I can steer you there. Whether or not you like it, I can get you there.
Hey man, respect to you. That's awesome. You know, you mentioned divorce and COVID here. You've seen a lot of downturns. What was kind of one of where you're at the lowest low, and how did you get back up?
I would say the two of them would be obviously divorce and COVID. Divorce was tough, mostly because it just, you don't, there's so many uncertainty. There are many nights when I was in the process of getting divorced that I really thought, you know, I'm going to bed and I don't know if I'm, you know, how the hell am I going to be open tomorrow, when you have a lot of bills and you're like, how am I going to pay these bills? There's a time, and I'll tell a lot of people this one, but I might as well tell the story. I swear to God, I lived on tuna, apples, because I love apples, oatmeal, and protein powder. And that's pretty much all I ate. On the week I didn't have my kids, I ate that because it was cheap. I could buy tuna for like $1 a can. And I'm like, there you go. And I would just eat tuna. It was, I mean, horribly unhealthy. And here I am preaching to people, like, you make sure you eat lots of vegetables. I didn't have any money for vegetables. It wasn't any fun. But fortunately, that's done. But that was the first time that I think in my life that I have been tested to the point I'm like, how tough are you to get through this? Can you get through this? And then of course, the second one was COVID because it was so uncertain. You know, I had, when COVID started, I had 21 staff and we had 3 locations, and we closed down 2 of the locations, and we are down to 11 staff now. So we lost 10 staff that either left the industry completely because they were uncomfortable and they were scared what would happen long term, or they went out on their own or whatever. So we lost almost half our staff, and we closed 2 locations because of it. But you know what? Again, it's the exact same as the divorce side of it. You learn what you're made of when hard things happen. I almost like it when something's challenging, because when you get through it, you enjoy it that much more. I like the challenge. For me, it's a lot like exercise. If an exercise is easy, then I'm not really excited about it. But if something's hard and I really have to push myself, I like that challenge of saying, can I do this? And the same thing applies, I think, to business. I like the challenge out there. I mean, it's stressful at the time, but I also, what's funny is I said to a client the other day, I've never actually considered the possibility during COVID that the business was going to close. It never crossed my mind. I'm like, we will be open, period. And when the staff would ask me, okay, what are we going to do? I'm like, we'll be open. We'll come out of this and we will be open. There's no question about it. And you know, I think that mindset sometimes really helps, because you have to be positive. If you're not positive, bad things happen.
Yes, man. It's 98% mindset, isn't it? And you know, putting your positive thoughts into action. Listen, I love, speaking about positivity, I love your social media. You got so many good stories and help so many people transfer their life from, you know, either bad to good or from good to great. Do you have a favorite success story with one of your clients?
Oh gosh, that's like picking your kids. That's a tough one, Steve. All right. There's 2 that spring to mind. I had a client that came to us. Her name was Dawn, and she said, when she sat down with me the first time, she said to me, "You will use me for advertisements." And she was fairly heavy at the time, and I said, I didn't know her, and I said, okay, great. Listen, I think that's a fantastic attitude. You should have an attitude like that. And lo and behold, she lost about 75 pounds in about 6 months. She went from being horribly unfit, you know, blood sugars were high, all those things, to she actually did a fitness competition later, a bikini competition, and now runs marathons.
Wow.
And it's just, that's a thing that, I mean, I say all the time about her. It was inspiring to watch her, because there was just no stopping her. She had set her mind on something, and, you know, we supported her and helped her through it, but she did it all, which was super, super cool. That's the first one. The second one was from years and years ago. I had a client come to me, and she was, her name's Michelle, still a very good friend. And Michelle had been, you know, heavy her whole life, and really was at the point where she's like, I'm sick of this. I think Michelle was about 280 pounds when I met her. And in 10 and a half months, she lost 135 pounds. And if you walked by her on the street, you would recognize her. And her whole attitude on life changed. She took up running, and she actually, believe it or not, now she runs Maritime Race Weekend. She started that business and runs it, which is super cool. And she had never run in her life up until she started to exercise. And then one day she said to me, I think I'd like to try running. I said, okay, well, this is what I think would like you to do. Go down to the boardwalk by your place and, you know, run for like 30 seconds and walk for a minute and a half. And lo and behold, she's run marathons now. And she actually now started and runs Maritime Race Week, which is so cool. Like, she completely changed her whole attitude on life, which is amazing. And that, for me, that's inspiring. I love watching people. It's not just about the physical change, because quite often their mental attitude changes completely too, which is the coolest part.
Oh man, that's huge. And I can tell just by you, I can see the body change. You're really excited for your clients. And just the way you're talking the clients are the hero. You're more or less just the guide to get them there, but it's them.
That's how I view myself. I think my job is just to be there to support information and to help them along the process. They do all the work. I mean, even when I'm standing with a client, really, they're doing all the work. I'm just sort of telling them, okay, we're going to do this next, and then they do the work. The hard work is that they're the heroes of it. I just guide them, which is actually really, really cool, because for me, it's almost like just being a coach or being a teacher. I get to move them in the right direction, but they do it all. And that's the exciting part, because, and I say to them quite often, I'm like, listen, when somebody says to me, oh my God, you changed my life. I'm like, no, you changed your life. You did it all. I just was here to help. That's all. That was my only job.
Listen, man, I could talk to you for hours. I find this so interesting and inspiring. But before we wrap up, just one question. If you're coming across a new business owner, or maybe a business owner that's doing good, but they want to get to that next level, they want to start doing great, what's one or two pieces of advice that you would give them to help them grow their business?
The first one I would say is my friend Wayne Crawley, who's very bright, one of the coolest guys I know. Wayne Crawley says, don't see ceilings. People often are walking around and this is the level they think they can go to. And I think we've all been in that situation where you're like, oh, I can't do that because you don't see ceilings. Wayne says to me all the time, you don't ever see a ceiling. If you think it's going to be, oh, I don't know if I can do that, well, just do it to see if you can. That's the first one. And the second one is to take chances, because when you start a business, you take a lot of chances. You're gambling on yourself. And then once you get into the business and the business is now running, then suddenly people sometimes start to get a little conservative and a little concerned, because now they have people, there's people depending on them for jobs and all that stuff. You still have to be willing to take those chances. And an example of that for me, I've done a little bit of online work, not a lot. And I decided in December, I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to do a little more of that. It was not something that I would have thought that I would like or even be very good at. I think I'm better in person. That's how I feel like I come off. But I thought, okay, I have some experience. I can program, I can help people. And I had a client out west, an old one, that said, listen, Devin, just program for me, try it. And I said, okay, cool, I'll give it a try. And since I launched that, it would have been January 8th, I think, or 9th, right after I finished having COVID. And I launched it, and it was sort of like a soft launch. I reached out to a couple people to see how it would go. And a guy on LinkedIn actually messaged me and said, oh, I'd like to talk. We talked on the phone briefly. He gave me what his program was. I was like, well, I wouldn't really do it that way. He signed up himself, his wife, and his entire management team. And I went from having one client to having like 15. And I'm like, wow, okay, so this does have some legs, but that's one of those things. You just take a chance and try it. Because the worst thing that could happen is it's not going to work. But if it doesn't work, that's okay. Just try something new. I mean, that's the great thing about business. You try something, if it doesn't work, try something else. You can never get down on things.
This internet thing is real, then. It works, I guess. So no ceilings and take chances.
No ceilings and take chances.
Man, I really enjoyed chatting with you. This is a question I ask my clients, and I'm going to ask you this there too as we finish off. But imagine you got 1 hour left on the planet. Okay, maybe you're heading down to Canso, you're jumping on Elon Musk's spaceship and heading to Mars, but you got 1 hour left. What are you doing during that 1 hour? Who are you spending it with? And what advice would you pass on?
Okay, that's an easy one for me. I want to spend it with my kids. I have 4 kids, which is a lot of kids. I would spend it with all 4 of my kids. My kids range from 19 to 9. I want to spend it with my wife and my kids, and hopefully my brother, sister, or my dad. And what would I tell people? I tell the kids exactly what I just said there. Don't see ceilings and take chances and stuff, because the worst thing that can happen is it doesn't work and you try something new. But that would be what I'd want to do. Is just, to me, my family is the most important part of my life. This is the reason I work hard, is because I want to provide for my kids. I want to show them a good example. Obviously, I want to, provide for my wife. So that'd be it. I would spend that hour for sure with my family, 100%.
Awesome. Very family orientated. Providing the same information that you just, or the advice that you just gave us here. Very powerful stuff. Any final words, my friend, Devin?
Listen, my only question is, when are you going to come in so I can train you, Steve?
Well, after being there, I think you're going to see me here pretty soon. Yeah, definitely.
Yes, I look
very
forward
impressed
to it.
with everything. Thank you very much. Check out Devin and 360 Fit. Amazing gym, amazing service. You can't go wrong. What a great way to kick off the new year, or any time that you see this. Now is the time to start Obviously, yesterday was the best time to start, but today is the best time to start living that better life. And Devin's going to help you do that. Thank you so much, Devin, and all the best. Looking forward to working with you.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it so much, my friend.
All right. Well-deserved business owner of the month, Devin Sharrington, 360 Fit. Check him out. All the best. Talk soon.
Take care.